Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Clinical Research, Education and Leadership in Clinical Medicine courses information session. Before we start, we want to inform you that this session is being recorded and will be shared on the ICE YouTube channel, and the recording will be sent to all who registered for this event after the session. My name is Laura Aston. I'm Head of Academic Centre Administration at the Institute of Continuing Education at the University of Cambridge. We're also known as ICE. Joining us for today's session, we have the course director for this course, Dr. Thomas O'Connor, one of our students, Nicola Buchan, and Kate Wedderpole from the marketing team. Next slide, please. Thank you. This week, we're running a variety of online course information sessions to give you an opportunity to find out more about our STEM courses at the Institute of Continuing Education. We will also be holding panel sessions with our students and academics taking place tomorrow and Thursday evening, where you'll have the opportunity to hear more about student life and ask your questions to our expert academic team. In addition to our live sessions, we also have a number of video resources on our website, giving you further information on STEM at ICE, funding options, the application process, student support and interview preparation. If you missed any of our sessions, including the About STEM session that has just finished this evening, or you're unavailable to attend future sessions that you might be interested in, then you can watch the recordings, which will be available on our website 24 hours after each event. Links to events and resources are going to be shared in this chat and will also be sent via email after this session. Next slide, please. So a little about ICE. We were established over 150 years ago in 1873, and we were the first university-led continuing education provider in the world. Today, we offer a range of courses to adult learners, including short online, residential weekend courses, international summer programs, and award-bearing part-time undergraduate and postgraduate qualifications covering a number of subject areas from archaeology to genomic medicine. ICE is a place where professional networks are formed, friendships are made, and transformative power of learning is recognised. Next slide, please. So shortly we will take you through what you can expect from the postgraduate certificate in clinical research, education and leadership, as well as the postgraduate diploma and MST in clinical medicine, including entry requirements, teaching style, module content and assessment. We have time reserved at the end of the session to answer your questions, so please do send us your questions for any members of the team via the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen during the presentation. I'll now hand you over to my colleague, Thomas O'Connor.
Laura, thank you very much for the introduction, and welcome to everybody who's joining us either live or is catching up on this asynchronously. And of course, we're talking about this evening is the postgraduate certificate in clinical research, education and leadership. My name is Thomas O'Connor and I am the course director for the postgrad cert in clinical research, education and leadership. The postgraduate certificate has been designed with the professional needs of clinicians specifically in mind. Originally, the course was designed for medics and doctors, and then over the past number of years, we have expanded the course due to demand from dentists, from vets, from midwives, from nurses, from ODPs, from chiropodists, and we have a wide range of people who are practicing clinically in the UK and abroad. We've had Canadian students joining us on the course. Certainly one of the benefits in different clinical specialities and at different levels of their career. And the course itself, the postgraduate certificate, is divided into 3 modules. Each module has 4 contact days, which are taught here in Cambridge in person. thankfully back in person after a number of years of things being online. And the first module of the course is the leadership course, the leadership module. And in this, we explore leadership theory as it applies to clinical situations, followership theory, because for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And we also look at things like NHS business cases. So not alone are you looking at your own clinical teams, but you're gaining those skills to be able to put real change into practice. The practical focus of the leadership module is based around quality improvement, and it's giving you those skills to put a real world quality improvement project in place in your own work situation, to lead this start to finish, and then to present your project through a verbal and slideshow presentation, and also an academic poster to present this at the end of the year to your peer group. And that is the assessment for the leadership module. The research module is taught in second term, and again, looking at research theory, at ethics, permissions, peer evaluation, and working up through the very practical steps of being able to put together a viable research proposal, so that when you were in your own workplace, when it comes to putting through a proposal for something, you've had that practical skill that you've been able to rehearse and assess right the way through. And then the clinical education module is the module in the final in the final term. And with this, again, looking at clinical and medical education theory, education pathways, and the specific progression that various that various people will have in their clinical roles, the types of teaching, the types of practical assessments that they will have, and then the whole world of modes of assessment in clinical situations, so that whatever your own job role is, you're getting a wide variety of practical experience in what is important to you in your job role, what's important for those you'll be leading, but also that overlap between you and other teams, because MDT and multidisciplinary team working is obviously where we're all at this stage. And it's all about getting that from theory into practice. So at the end of the first year, which is the postgraduate certificate in clinical research, education and leadership, you are, on successful completion, awarded that postgraduate certificate. The certificate has been designed as the first year of the optional diploma and master's course in clinical medicine. And for those of you who decide to continue with the course, year 2 is the diploma in clinical medicine. And again, divided up into three modules. We've got advanced leadership, where we look at rescuing failing teams, managing difficult behavior, lessons learned from non-healthcare and non-NHS based systems. We look at change management plans. We look at getting really down to the practical level of very real world change within your own teams. And the assignment for the advanced leadership module that year is a quality improvement project written up in the squad guidelines to a publishable level. So as well as getting your quality improvement methodology and your practical skills, you're also getting those practical skills for writing, academic writing for publication. The second module in year 2 is healthcare informatics. And both healthcare informatics and healthcare law have been introduced to the course by demand from the students who are thinking, well, we are very focused and very educationally focused throughout our training on the clinical skills, perhaps, and the patient skills. But the things like healthcare informatics, the things like healthcare law, are the areas where clinicians have said to us that they are perhaps less confident. So these two modules are deliberately there to get you to a high academic level, but also a very high practical level of knowing what's involved for healthcare informatics, data models and data flow, data stewardship, and the UK governance framework. And then in healthcare law, consent, capacity, autonomy, mental health law, quality insurance and governance, So all these things that you would need as an advanced clinical leader within your job role, which really might not be that patient facing, might not be that clinical skills stuff. This is what the diploma year will deliver. And then following on from the diploma year, for those of you who wish to continue, there is the Master of Studies in Clinical Medicine. And with year 3, the Master of Studies in Clinical Medicine, you matriculate into Cambridge University. At the moment, it is Homerton College, which is one of the main colleges. It's the closest college here in Cambridge to Addenbrooke's Hospital, the Cambridge University teaching hospital. And in the master's course, you are picking one of the topics and one of the areas that you have found of particular interest to you in your own job role. And you are under supervision, producing a dissertation based on that particular aspect. So it may be in clinical leadership, it may be in healthcare informatics, it may be in healthcare law, it may be in medical or clinical education. So very deliberately, the dissertation side of this is designed to be flexible enough to accommodate your needs for what you want in your career progression. And on the third year, there are fewer contact days, again, divided through the 3 terms, and then more in terms of one-to-one supervision for you during your project. And we have many students who are attending the postgraduate certificate, and then perhaps after that deciding, well, do they at this stage want to go on to the diploma or the master's? You have a maximum of 5 years between the modules if you do want to progress, or you can take the certificate or the diploma as an exit qualification at that point as it comes to there. And we're very pleased we have Nicola here joining us this evening as well. Nicola is a graduate of this course. I was just saying, Nicola, I'm not sure if you were in any of these pictures, but we have just put some pictures up here to show the level of involvement in the course. It's most definitely not an online course or a distance learning course. It is getting to Cambridge. It is getting involved with other clinicians. It's building up that great amount of interprofessional networking and skills that you will have. The course itself is held at Madingley Hall in Cambridge. Some of the modules may be held at Homerton College, and the lower picture there of the people pointing into the camera, central figure in that is Simon Lord Woolley, who is the principal of Homerton College, Cambridge. And then on the bottom, on the left-hand side, we've got a recent graduation day. So again, you get that idea of involvement of doctors, dentists, vets, chiropodists, midwives, nurses, paramedics who are on the course, and also that great involvement of the families and that support network, because I don't think any of us can get through any postgraduate qualifications without that real support of our colleagues and our families. With the contact days in Cambridge, we have a very wide variety of faculty teaching on the course. We have faculty drawn from Addenbrooke's Hospital here in Cambridge, that is the Cambridge University Teaching Hospital Trust, faculty from Royal Papworth Hospital here at Cambridge, which is based on the Cambridge Medical Campus. We've also had involvement from teaching staff from the Cambridge Judge Business School previously. We've had involvement from the Healthcare Design Group, which is part of the engineering department of the university here at Cambridge. So we've got a very wide variety of faculty, both medical, non-medical, NHS business cases, clinical psychologists, to really hit all the parameters that you may need that you may not get on courses that are simply online. We know that people who have been on the course previously have very much kept in touch with us and also with each other. And as careers progress, we get a lot of feedback and a lot of information on people letting us know how the course, either 1, 2, or 3 years, has led to being able to put together an application for a PhD post, or an application for a consultant post, or a clinical lead, or it may be that you take a sideways, a sideways change in your career into medical education from any of this. So we've had a wide variety of people who have benefited from the course. You'll see on the ICE, the Institute of Continuing Education here at Cambridge, the Student Handbook 23-24 for the award-bearing courses, the postgraduate course. You can have a read through that. We also have the course guide. So the course guide is really the handbook for those of you who are embarking on the course, and has all those fine details which we refer to during the course step by step as we go. Now, I'm aware that there's not a live audience throwing questions verbally at me here, which is quite an unusual situation to begin. So what we'll do is hand over now to some question and answers, and probably a good place to start will be with Nicola, if you can introduce yourself, and then rather than from a faculty and teaching point of view, just give us a little bit about your own experience of the course and how it has impacted on you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. So I'm Nicola Buchan. I am currently a paramedic working for an ambulance service on the South Coast, and taking part in the postgraduate certificate in clinical research, education and leadership currently. So my background is a slightly odd one. So I've come into the kind of paramedic world, having come from a different career. So I'm quite early on in my journey clinically. And this particular qualification for me, and this particular course for me, was really all about dipping my toes into several areas and just exploring to see where I'd like to go forward from here with the kind of new career that I've come into, with a previous background from education and from psychotherapy. So far, absolutely loving the experience at ICE over at Cambridge. Met a lot of new people through the course, and lots of networking that we're doing outside of the course as well as on the course itself. So really enjoying the contact days, getting a lot from them, learning a lot, particularly so far in the leadership side of things, and got a quality improvement project underway. And then now this term onto a research proposal. And the lovely bit about both of those pieces of work is that I can get to choose kind of areas that interest me, and then kind of begin to apply those in the area where I work. But I think separate from that is actually what I gain from the other students on the course and what I can give back as well. So you'll find outside the course, we will set up meetings, whether that's over Teams, whether that's over Zoom, just talking about different projects that we're running and kind of gaining ideas. We will have kind of a WhatsApp group set up quite early on where we just keep in contact with each other. And that's been really important, I think, for all of us, because we're all going on our own personal journeys. And sometimes we just like to sort of check in with each other and see how it's going. But I'm kind of midway through it at the moment and thoroughly enjoying it so far.
Should we
Thank
have a
you,
look at some
Nicola.
questions then?
Yes, indeed. While you're just bringing those up, I was just going to say, Nicola, I think it's a great example of how a course like this has advanced and developed based on the needs of the applicants and the needs of the people who were involved in the course. Originally, the course was rather specifically aimed at hospital, and through the involvement of other careers, I think that's really brought a wealth of experience to everybody else in the course to broaden out, and particularly helping in team working to know what happens with everybody else as well.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look at some questions then. So, right, is there, in terms of the application process, so is there any specific experience I should have that would benefit my application onto the course? So, in a very basic point, you should look at the website. There's a whole course web page about how to apply and the entry requirements. You do have to have an undergraduate degree, and obviously we welcome applications from a whole host of healthcare professionals. Would you say, Thomas or Nicola, that there's any specific experience that people might want to particularly demonstrate?
And with this, again, I think it's a great example of how the course is evolved to meet the needs of the applicants, in that certainly don't be afraid to apply. Just tell us whatever experience you have. A lot of the time you'll find that something that you might think is not particularly relevant is of great interest to us. So that wherever you are in your career, it's usually people in early to mid-career who are thinking about expanding what they know in that non-clinical sense and the non-clinical skills. And you'll find for anybody who has been working clinically or in the healthcare setting, if you've been working for maybe more than 2 or 3 years, you will have such a wealth of experience that you may not even be aware of that you can bring to the course. It's not always about what you need to bring to the course to get in. It's actually you saying, hey, I've got this great wealth of experience that I can bring and share with the course. So whatever your level of experience is, look on the application form, and we are very much inclined to look favorably on applications rather than to look how we can rule applications out. We always think, how can we rule this application in? With the application process, there is a written application first of all, and then there are a couple of references you would have with that, and then we select for an interview, which has been taking place online mostly in the past few years. Nicola, do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience of the interview? Did you find it helpful? Did you find it intimidating? Well, what was the process like for you?
I think, as you say, don't be afraid to apply. I certainly think that for me, it was to start with that feeling of kind of, is there a little bit of imposter syndrome going on for me right the way through from quite early on? For me, the interview process actually was a lot more two-way than I expected it to be. And it really became a conversation about not only me kind of explain what I could offer, but also an exploration of the application itself, and looking at, well, I've got this particular experience, which is where I could bring some strength and that could benefit others on the course, and then also looking for those particular areas that I wanted to improve, or those gaps for me, and actually what other people could bring, or where the course could complement that, and kind of boost my experience in that side. So it really was a two-way process. And I think once you ease into that interview a little bit, and allow yourself to have that two-way conversation, I think that's where you can demonstrate what you can bring, but also you then you're less hesitant to ask those questions about what you can gain at the same time. And that's actually quite a lot. So I got a lot from the interview process. Yeah.
And Nicola, I don't know, I hope this reflects on your experience so far, but for me, one of the real benefits of ICE is that we really want to support busy working professionals in part-time study who may not have previously considered applying to the university and fitting that mold of full-time undergraduate study. And we really do want to support people and develop them in their careers and their aspirations. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think for me, that's partly what attracted me to the course to start with. That it was the part-time aspect. I really enjoy actually having 4 contact days together and having that almost intensity, and then going away, and then I can reflect on that in my own time and then apply that to actually where I'm working, and for me in my career. So that feels particularly supportive. It's also, for me, it's flexible enough that I can actually design how I want to study within the course. So I think for some courses I've seen, it'll be, you need to be studying X amount of hours per week. And for me, that doesn't quite work because I work shifts. I'm on the road a lot as paramedic. The hours can be a little bit all over the place, but I can actually plan around that with this course. And there'll be times when I might not do as many hours in one week, but then actually I found I've got the time to really put in the study other times. And I think that blended learning, that mix of contact days face to face, but then also the online as well. So whether that is a workshop or a webinar online talking through some of our projects, or maybe it's actually, as I say, catching up with other students online. So there's a real mix there.
And I think we're very lucky with the venues. Obviously, we all our courses are taught across Cambridge, but one of our big selling points is Madingley Hall, where ICE is based. It's a real opportunity, I think, to surround yourself in a beautiful environment and really fully immerse yourself in the course and spending time with experts in the field and fellow students.
And Nicola, thank you for sharing, your own personal journey there. Just again to have that personal touch, a little bit about my background with this course. I was one of the students on the first cohort of this course back in, I think it was 2015. And I didn't quite know what I was letting myself in for. Was really enthusiastic, and really my career changed a lot by my involvement in that initial course. I went on to do an NIHR fellowship, quality improvement fellowship, went on to work on the education aspects of new national guidelines and working on a general anesthetic, to present at conferences, to win poster prizes at conferences. And these were not at all the things that I expected I was going to get from this course. And then here we are almost 10 years later as course director. So it's curious, how one's career can develop through the opening and the opportunities and the learning that you gain through ICE at Cambridge.
Okay, let's have another look at another question then. So how much interaction will I get with other students on the course outside of the in-person teaching? I think, Nicola, you've touched on that already.
I think you've got a very active WhatsApp group, Nicola, is that right?
There's always something pinging off on our WhatsApp group, absolutely. And it's one of those, it's as little or as much as you'd like it to be. There are times when I maybe don't have the contact for a few weeks. There are times when I'll kind of dip in and out. There are times when actually we'll link up quite closely as group, doing all sorts of different things. It might be supporting on the course in terms of the actual academic work itself and gaining ideas from other people. It might be as simple as, has anybody got any ideas for where to stay or where to go out and eat when we're actually up doing the forward contact days, and that's social, or is anybody around? I'm around. Everybody wants to meet up beforehand, meet up afterwards, so it's kind of a blend of that social alongside the academic. So yeah, it's as much as you want to immerse yourself. And similarly for the students abroad as well, actually, it's lovely to have the WhatsApp group. It's lovely to be able to actually engage online, because it means we can keep contact with people that are maybe only flying across for those contact days, but aren't actually in the country for the other parts. So yeah.
And one of the pictures that we showed in the slide a few minutes ago was during the contact week for the leadership module, and because the students on the course thought, right, let's see a bit more of Cambridge. We did a walking tour of Cambridge around the colleges, King's College Chapel, the punts, the bridges, all these things, just to see. So it's nice to have that informal aspect, and then they were all heading out to a meal afterwards. So it's nice to be able to just have, that almost slightly touristy aspect of Cambridge as well, to come along and just enjoy the city and the history and the many odd things that Cambridge as a city has to offer. And then as you progress through the course, when the people who matriculated into third year for the masters then get to go to Formal Hall and get a college gown and get very involved in the more active side of student life, even though they are part-time, even though they are part-time students, fully welcomed into that student fold here in Cambridge.
So Thomas, you've already touched upon the fact that obviously you have completed this course and gone on to be the course director of it. But could you give some examples of what previous students have gone on to do after completing the course?
Yes, indeed. So we have students who've completed the certificate course and then gone on to complete the diploma course. But either or, we've had people who have used then their experience as perhaps an application for a paid project or a consultant or training post elsewhere. We have had students who've gone on to do masters in medical education and then have taken perhaps a 0.5 part-time equivalent in medical education, which they never expected that they were going to do. We've had students who have who have changed career from perhaps a nursing career and gone into ODP and operating department practitioner, from meeting people in the course, and also from just seeing what's possible. That's seeing that with the right support and the right level of support for academic skills and learning, that learning, exams, fellowships, applications for clinical leads, application for leadership role within your own jobs is actually a lot easier once you know how to follow that ABC of of academic writing or of research proposal, or even something as simple as being able to reference through referencing software. That has been something that's helped people in their careers to get jobs they might not otherwise have got. I don't want to be too detailed in sort of naming people who might be identifiable through this, because they haven't given their permission for that. But yeah, we've had people who've got consultant roles and have felt they would not have without the course, people who've got fellowships, people who've got research fellowships, people who have gone on to onto fairly advanced levels of medical education, and this course was their initial springboard to that.
Great, thank you. We've had a question about attendance. So obviously we're back to in-person teaching, which is great. And it's a few days of teaching per module. What happens if somebody is unable to attend a session?
So generally the teaching days, it's a bank of 4 days per term in 3 terms. So that's usually, say, a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then at some point 3 or 4 weeks after that, there's a catch-up day, which is possibly a Thursday or a Friday. So it's really a commitment to 5 days of being being in Cambridge each term. Now, obviously, the reality of life can get in the way of that. When you apply for the course, all of the contact days are published before you even apply. So we would expect, because it is an in-person course and because of the university regulations, that you would attend in person for all of those days. Having said that, life can get in the way sometimes, and we have an entire mitigating processes procedure at Cambridge to account for that. So if something happens where you cannot attend a particular day, then we would work with you, and if needed, work with any special educational needs, all these things to meet your requirements. But if you are unable to fulfill the requirement for the contact days, then we would offer generally the opportunity to rejoin that module the following year in there, so that you're not just missing out on all of that, and you're certainly not missing out your place on the course. And this,
Right.
again, is something that happens and has happened real students. And like you were saying, Laura, with the Institute of Continuing Education, we know that people have real lives, real families, real jobs, real commitments, real illnesses, and we're very much here to support you through that and to help you achieve what you were setting out to achieve, rather than putting any barriers in the way of that.
Absolutely. We've had a question about cohort size. So my understanding is there's around 20 students on the postgraduate certificate, which seems like a good size, not too overwhelming, but still a community feel to the cohort.
Indeed, about 2025, depending on the year. And again, maybe I'll bounce this back to Nicola. Nicola, in terms of a university course where people might think, oh, I'll be stuck in a big lecture hall full of 400 people, or oh, I'll just be faced one-to-one with a supervisor. How have you found the cohort size?
I've actually really enjoyed the cohort size. It's a nice size to be able to for everybody to come together as a whole group. So you've got the whole group discussions going on, but it's also a nice size to be able to break away into smaller groups, as well as kind of supporting each other, whether that's one-to-one or having discussions one-to-one as well. So I've benefited from that, and in some ways, it's also challenged me. I think when you've got large lecture theatres, there is how can I say this? There's an opportunity to hide somewhat. It's not as intense as kind of that face-to-face one-to-one, but it does force you to really think and really participate with what is going on, which again then also focuses you a lot more for those contact days when you're there. So yeah, so I enjoy that particular size of the group, and it's not often that I think I've taken part in a group of that size for that length of time for a course. So yeah, helps with the bonding as well.
And we tend to like to maybe divide them people into subgroups and have breakout rooms and just get people to know each other a little bit more. Lots of small group working as well and problem solving within that. And you said, Nicola, that it forces you to engage. Hopefully we encourage and we facilitate you engaging rather than actually forcing you.
Yeah.
In a good way, in a nice way.
Yes, yeah, I know what you mean.
Strong encouragement.
Yes.
Right. I think that is all of the questions that we have received. Obviously, if anybody does have any other questions that they would like to for us to answer, please do put them in a chat. If not, you can send your questions to inquiries@ice.cam.ac.uk. We can pop that in the chat as well. Yeah, and it's on the screen. Perfect. So all that's left to say is thank you for joining us this evening. We hope you found the session useful. There's further sessions taking place throughout the next few nights. So thank you very much for joining us.